I would like to join the previous speakers in thanking Exprim and the Georgian supervisory authorities in the market for organizing this event and hosting us. It's likewise an honor to speak in front of such a large, distinguished audience. A lot of things on the topic have already been said. It's very difficult to be the last presenter of the day. I cannot, in all honesty, promise you to be as short as you may want me to be, but I will try to be as interesting and as useful in my presentation as possible. And in that sense, my presentation will be about the long and curvy road. It was symbolic that it loaded very slowly. It will be about the long and curvy road from national compulsory MTPL insurance to international green card motor insurance. First, I would like to take, I have prepared a few slides on the benefits and on the organization, on the establishment of the MTPL, compulsory MTPL. Again, a lot of things have already been said about this. I would like to quote one of the clever minds of the past. I stand on the shoulders of giants, so I will just waltz through some of the slides that have already been discussed. Again, this has been said many times, compulsory MTPL is adopted by countries to address an important social risk in the country, and it brings a number of benefits. Again, we've spoken about this. It protects the victims. On the other hand, as Mariusz mentioned earlier, this is an underappreciated factor, but it also protects the drivers from having to face sudden losses in case they are the tortfeasor. But in the long term, what is also important is to remember that introduction of compulsory MTPL in many countries, and this has been proven by numerous studies, changes the behavior and changes the level of road safety in those countries, because it changes driver behavior, it changes awareness, and it contributes generally to road safety. There are economic effects to introducing MTPL, and this has also been spoken about. It provides impetus for the growth of the insurance sector. It allows to accumulate significant investment resources in the economy, and it indirectly contributes to economic growth. Just to give you an idea, just to give you a couple of pointers, some statistics on how MTPL in neighboring countries and other countries stimulates the growth of the sector. I know that it's probably not super visible. This is a chart with CE countries' GWP composition, where you can see that MTPL has a large share. You can see also that in countries like Azerbaijan, Turkey, Armenia, MTPL has a large share of the total non-life GWP. What is also interesting is the time dynamics of insurance premiums. After the introduction of MTPL. I would have liked to give you multiple examples, but I will limit myself to the example of Armenia, where you can see that after the introduction of MTPL in 2011, GWP grew almost 4 times. But what is more important is that it continued to grow, and in the following 8 years, it continued to grow again, roughly 4 times if we compare it to the previous statistics, and this is due to a number of factors that have already been discussed here. It's not only MTPL itself that creates new premium base, but it also stimulates the growth of other lines of business. Now, how to succeed in implementing compulsory MTPL? Again, this has been talked about the whole day, well, almost the whole day. That's why I quoted on this slide the part of the description of the conference itself. Just to highlight a few important points, legislation is very important, but it doesn't end with legislation. You have to have proper enforcement infrastructure, databases, and these central databases which should be shared among stakeholders. This includes road police, this includes border control authorities. There need to be in place important measures to combat uninsured driving, and the MTPL tariffs or premiums should account for a certain coverage for uninsured driving in one way or another. There needs to be a good quality of claims handling procedures, and this has been highlighted in many different aspects already. It's a quality that the insurance sector should deliver to the customer, and this all depends on good professional capacities, including, for example, something that has been also touched upon, actuarial capacities for especially for the proper calculation of tariffs and premiums. And we are stuck. No, we're not. So yeah, premiums and tariffs, of course, this more than enough has been said about liberalization versus regulation of tariffs. I personally would agree with what Mario said earlier. This is a process. This is not a trade-off. This is a process. This is a transition that most, if not all, markets have gone through over time. It may be prudent, it may be safe to start with regulated tariffs, maybe heavily regulated tariffs in the beginning, and move towards liberalization over time. And of course, what is important from the financial stability point of view is to have proper reserving standards, proper actuarial oversight at all times, because this is not a one-time exercise. It's not like a country can sit together, bring the brains together, make calculations and decide on a premium or on a tariff and move forward. It's a process of continuous adjustment. It's a process of continuous collection of data and improvement and adjustment. After all, again, as one or another clever man said, statistics is the only science that requires the right to be wrong in at least 5% of the cases. So there's no way you can start with the ideal premiums or tariffs from day one. Now moving on to green cards. Why would Georgia or any other country be interested in having being part of the green card system? Well, it's a large international system of mutually recognized MTPL policies, MTPL tariffs, 48 countries, 47 bureaus. This has already been mentioned. That's more than 450 million vehicles. It's a large club of cooperating countries, markets, insurers, and bureaus. As Mariusz already said in his presentation, it has a dual goal: to facilitate international traffic and to protect the victims of cross-border traffic accidents, and this is done via the green card policy, which again, as I said, is mutually recognized in member countries as MTPL coverage equal and equivalent to the national cover based on the laws and legislation of the country that is being visited. Again, there's a host of benefits for all involved stakeholders and parties. For the consumer, it's on the driver's side, it's ease of access, ease of travel, less costs, less administration to travel. For the victim side, when, for example, Georgia becomes a member of the green card system, for Georgian victims, it will be much easier to receive compensation from accidents caused by foreign vehicles. And of course, it makes the country part of a big, stable, progressive insurance system. For the insurance market, again, this has been touched upon in the context of MTPL. Similarly, for Green Card, it's an opportunity for growth. It's an impetus to the premium base. What is interesting is I'll give you a very illustrative example, which may or may not be the case for Georgia. Moldova, for example, if you compare their domestic MTPL gross written premiums and the Green Card premiums, they are about the same. Now, of course, from one country to another, this growth in premium is different, but it is undoubtedly a growth potential. And of course, countrywide, this is an important contribution to the image of the country. It's an important step towards regional and European integration. And especially for Georgia, where in the region you can see, I don't know if I can enlarge this map, but basically all the countries in the region, all of the neighboring countries except Armenia are currently member of the Green Card system. And we've heard time and time again, even yesterday, how important cross-border traffic is for the country, both outgoing, incoming, and transiting. Now a few words about how to organize the accession to the Green Card system. There are legal requirements and financial requirements to be met. Among the legal requirements, geographical location, it has to be west of the Ural Mountains in the geographical Europe territory, which is the case for Georgia. Compulsory MTPL has to be in place, the country has to be recognized by the UN, and the country has to have signed and ratified Vienna Conventions. What is important is there should not be any currency controls or any barriers to international transfers of currencies. More important on the operational and insurance MTPL or Green Card specific level is the establishment of the National Bureau and its recognition as the competent body for international MTPL by the government of the country. Now, a little bit more about the status and organization of the Bureau. As I said, it has to be recognized by the government as the competent authority. It has to be established, operated, and financed by the insurance sector. This is important. Why it has to be operated and financed by the insurance sector is because the insurance markets, each and every member insurer remains jointly and severally liable for all the past, present, and future liabilities of the Bureau. The Bureau itself guarantees the liabilities of its members, and the members remain liable for the obligations of the Bureau. Now, in terms of the legal organization of the establishment of the Bureau, there are various routes that we have seen, various possibilities that we have seen among our members. Some bureaus are established by law, some bureaus are established by the supervisory authority with the membership of the insurers, and so on and so forth. Again, what is important is at the end of the day to make sure that the insurance market participates in the operation and financing of the Bureau and the decision making, and the insurance market remains liable for the obligations of the Bureau, because the Bureau is, at the end of the day, the guarantor of all of the obligations of the market towards the 48 foreign countries. What concerns the financial requirements, here we have membership contributions that each and every member bureau pays to the Council of Bureaus for the operation of the Secretariat, which is the Council of Bureaus, which is the managing organization. This depends on the vehicle fleet. We have 3 different membership contribution groups. Georgia with over 1 million vehicle fleet, if my most up-to-date information is correct, would be in the middle group for contributions, let's say. But more important are the financial financial guarantees that each and every member, especially in the first years of their membership as transitional members have to provide to the system. And these financial guarantees are twofold. First, it's a reinsurance cover, which has to be subscribed by the Bureau on behalf of the whole market. So any claim caused by, in the future when Georgia exceeds, when and if Georgia exceeds, any claim caused, any accident caused by a Georgian vehicle in any of the other green card member countries has to be covered by this reinsurance contract. And the reinsurance contract has to be in place by at least for at least the transitional membership period, which is by default 10 years. However, I have to say that a lot of members prefer to maintain this reinsurance cover afterwards, because this is an efficient instrument to protect the market against the risk of large claims, which I will come to briefly later. And there are certain requirements of the COB with regards to the terms and conditions of the reinsurance that have to be met, which relate to the technicalities or the structure of the cover, such as the deductibles, the exclusions. One of the illustrative examples is, for example, in each and every country there are certain exclusions for from the MTPL cover. And of course, the reinsurance cover itself has certain exclusions. You may have, for example, an exclusion in the reinsurance cover related to terrorism. But if in one of but your contract should also include a write-back clause, which says that if in the country visited, if in the specific case, the national MTPL legislation does not provide for that exclusion, that risk still has to be covered by the reinsurance contract. So it's basically to make sure that the reinsurance contract can intervene regardless of in which country the accident happened. Of course, provided it's a large loss and it's above the reinsurance contract priority level, because this reinsurance contract is an excess of loss contract. The priority level depends on the vehicle fleet. And there are minimum requirements for the security and for the security of the participating reinsurers. The second pillar of these financial guarantee requirements, we spoke about the reinsurance, which is essentially a tool to protect from the risk of large losses. But in addition to that, transitional members are also required to provide a cash deposit or a bank deposit, a bank guarantee or a cash deposit. Sorry, it's the end of the day. It's not only just you who is tired. And again, there are specific technical requirements to be followed in case of this bank guarantee or cash deposit, rating of the guaranteeing bank, the amount, the obligation to replenish if this bank guarantee is drawn down by the COB, who should be named as the beneficiary. And this bank guarantee can be used if the subject bureau did not pay membership contributions, if the subject bureau fails to pay the reinsurance premium, or if the bureau does not pay a green card claim that happened in one or another green card country. To give you a snapshot of how these financial guarantees could look, again, it depends on the vehicle fleet, and here in these examples I departed from the assumption of above 1 million registered vehicles in Georgia. You could, for example, have a reinsurance contract with a excess of loss priority of 200,000. In that case, the bank guarantee or cash deposit would have to be 4 million euro. You could have it at 300,000 priority, and in that case, logically, the required bank guarantee would be higher, up to 4.5 million. and so on, up until 500,000 reinsurance priority, and the requirement of the bank guarantee adjusts accordingly. And finally, if you bear with me for a few more, for literally 2 more slides, I think, some points of attention, why these requirements and why the importance of the financial aspects is because if and when Georgia becomes a member of the green card system, this means entering a family or a system, a club, call it whatever you want, that is very diverse. It's very diverse in terms of legal procedures. In each and every country, you have different periods for claim handling. In each and every country, you have different rules for the assessment of the damage. In each and every country, you have different levels, different minimum amounts of different amounts of cover, and in each and every country, based on those characteristics, you will have different claim amounts. If a Georgian vehicle goes to Russia, for example, and causes a claim there, the limit of liability would be capped by, I don't know, 5,000–6,000 euros. If the same Georgian vehicle goes, if you decide, for example, if one of your clients decides to export Georgian wine to Italy and drives to Italy and causes an accident there, if there is bodily injury, and especially if there is deaths, well, you're going to have a host of direct and indirect relatives claiming damages. So you will have a claim in the range of millions and millions. If it drives further to the UK, we've already had an example. Your claim will involve a lot of legal costs and so on. So it introduces more uncertainty and risk of larger losses or larger payouts depending on the traffic that you expect your portfolio depending on the cross-border traffic trends that you expect your portfolio to demonstrate. This is why financial discipline is key, because there are cross-border cash flows involved at all times, and they don't match either in space or in time. This graph gives you, and I don't know how visible it is, this graph gives you a contrast of incoming and outgoing accidents, imported and exported accidents in 3 of our member countries. The difference can be in tens of thousands, 10, 20, 30,000 of a difference of imported and exported claims. You have, to complicate matters even further, these flows are between insurers, between their claims handlers in different countries, and the bureau. So you have multiple stakeholders, and the financial stability of all of these stakeholders and of each and every market is a key prerequisite to be a successful member of the green card system. Because again, you have different levels and different stakeholders involved. At each and every one of these levels, you have to maintain certain liquidity and cash capacity. And how do you do that? Well, by setting adequate premiums, by maintaining sound reserving practices, and by communicating and cooperating with your partners in an efficient and diligent manner. This is not an easy task, especially on the backdrop of what we spoke about earlier, what previous speakers mentioned. In the absence of complete data history, it's a very difficult task to set premiums. There is a host of actuarial methods available that can be helpful, but it's always, like I said, statistics is not an exact science. What helps very often, especially in the initial phase of membership to the green card system, is zoning the green cards, and most of your neighboring countries' experience will show that each and every insurer doesn't have to, from one day to another, to extend cover to all the 47 members. based on one and the same premium. You can choose, if I can quickly go back to the template of the green card, you can choose to provide cover for one or another country or a group of countries, provided that the European Economic Area countries are treated as, oops, okay, this is proving a little bit more complicated, but in 2 words, each and every green card can cover either the whole territory or one country, 2 country, groups of countries. There's already good examples. As far as I know, Azerbaijan does that. There are different zones for neighboring countries, 3 zones, if I'm not mistaken. Moldova does that. Of course, again, the European Economic Area is different. Once you decide to cover the European Economic Area, you cover all of the European Economic Area. But again, to come to my last point, it's not an easy task to maintain financial stability of the market after membership, but it's an important and it's a necessary task. And there is a host of experience of other countries, and there is also the Council of Bureaus to help and support you. With that, I hope I have not abused too much of your patience. And I think that was my last slide, so thank you very much for your attention.